So we're at the RV. We need to get the solar installed. And we got less than a month before we go on the trip. So we're hoping to get some things done today. Hopefully quite a bit. Though mainly I'm hoping to get the charge controller installed. We'll see how it goes. So we're going to start the solar install today. Well, actually, that's not true. We've been working on this solar for a few months now. This RV came supposedly solar ready. So we didn't know what that meant. We found out up on the roof of the RV, there's the MC4 connectors. And it took us a few months to figure out where the wires went. I had to get Thor involved. They finally sent me schematics, but the wires come in up there from the roof, and they come across and they come in down here. So we're thinking we're going to mount the charge controller in here. This is the charge controller. We're trying to find where we're going to put it. And it looks like we're going to put it down here in the closet. Is the best place. The wires come down behind here. So if we mount the charge controller right there, and then it's just a short run of the batteries here. So we've gone ahead, we had a template. And we put it there, traced around it, so now we're going to, the moment of truth, we're going to cut a hole and see what happens. Alright, so we got the charge controller hooked up to the battery, and I actually have a solar panel on the roof hooked up, and everything seems to be working. The only thing we have left, well, we still got a couple of things to do. We have to mount the panels on the roof. We got 3 panels to put up there, and a couple of sensors that go to the charge controller. One's a more accurate voltage sensor for the battery, and one's a temperature sensor for the battery, because this charge controller has temperature compensation. So I'm back at the RV today to continue the solar install. We were here yesterday. We got the charge controller pretty much put in. We cut out the hole, mounted it. I didn't permanently mount it because I still got to take it off and hook up a couple more wires, but we ran the wires to the battery, and we put a solar panel up on the roof and connected it, and just to check the operation of the charge controller, and it was working. So far so good. Today I'm hoping to complete the installation, get the panels up there on the roof permanently mounted, finish wiring up the sensors to the charge controller, so that's all done, and this solar project will be done. I was hoping to get it done this weekend, and we're getting there. Let me show you a little bit about where we put that charge controller. So as we walk into our RV, we have this closet here. The wires for the solar come down from up here. The MC4 connectors that you hook up to the solar panels comes in there. This is just light wire. This isn't the solar wiring. The solar wiring runs across the roof, and it comes down along here and comes down below the refrigerator. We decided, and down here below the steps is my batteries. So we decided to mount the charge controller down there in the bottom of the cabinet in the closet, which is a good spot for it because now it's just a short run right down to the batteries. And the solar wires were coming down behind it anyway, the wires that were pre-installed for the panels. So we're just going with what we had there with the wires and mounted that pretty close to the battery. So it's out of the way. You don't see it normally. So I've installed circuit breakers in the lines. This one is coming down from the panels to the charge controller. It's a 30 amp circuit breaker to protect the charge controller, and this one goes from the charge controller down to the battery. Another 30 amp circuit breaker. So some protection in the system to help prevent damage from overcurrent. Alright, so I'm done with the hooking up the wires for the charge controller. I'm up here on the roof and I've positioned the panels where I want them to go. I've been playing around with placement. This looks like it's going to be the best setup. So I've marked the brackets. I got my die core up here, drill and everything I need, hopefully. So now's the moment of truth. Gonna start drilling into the roof. Well, everything is hooked up, wired up. I went down and checked. Everything looks normal. So we now have a fully installed functioning solar system, 300 watt Renogy system with a 30 amp Adventure charge controller. So I've got the panels hooked up. The system is totally installed now. I haven't permanently mounted that charge controller. There are no screws holding it in place. It's just sitting in the hole that we cut for it. I've got my phone hooked up to the USB charging, and that's working. So we see that it's scrolling through system parameters, 18 volts from the panel, 4.7 amps because I've got power on in the coach. I've got lights on. So it looks like everything is working as it's supposed to.